What is the crack? So yesterday I probably had the worst game I've ever had in my life. Not making any excuses. I just couldn't think clearly. I couldn't get the legs going. The power was not there. It's been 5 weeks since I played a game and 3 weeks on holidays. So it was all coming together. I thought it would have been all right. Obviously didn't do enough work when I was away. I was initially going to use today as a recovery, active recovery and zone 2 session. But because I did so little yesterday, that I'm going to do this as a power based session. So I'm not going to go too mental on the weights, just try and get that power back into the legs. So the research shows that if you don't work on power for 5 to 7 days, you're going to lose it. I haven't done any power work in about 3 weeks. So I don't know what I was doing, expecting to be exactly where I was before I went on holidays. But anyway, game's over. We won is the main thing. I got my first red card in my life. For two yellows. It was just lazy tackling because I was just so out of the game. I was getting frustrated and I was making clumsy challenges. Again, all on my own doing. My first red card in my life. Never got a red or got a black before yesterday, so hopefully that's the last time I get that. I'll bring you to the session, see how it goes. I had a good 9 hours sleep last night then as well. I think I'm getting over jet lag as well. That was the first good night's sleep I've had where I felt refreshed waking up. My whoop recovery today was 59, which isn't fantastic after playing a game. You want it to be down quite low. My whoop the recovery yesterday was 57. So my recovery today is higher than the game yesterday. But anyway, look, we'll go through what we can do anyway. I got some protein, I had a protein shake, a banana and a yogurt this morning. Just wasn't feeling very hungry. I want to keep in a slight calorie deficit as well across the week. I don't feel like I need to replenish as much energy used yesterday because I didn't do fuck all. But anyway, that's where we are at the moment. Just down now in Rom, Gym in Sligo, range of motion. I have my pre-workout here and my Perform Nutrition. I normally take around 20-30 minutes before my workout, but I have a good bit of mobility work to do before any workout now that I'm 30. I find I need a little bit more work. So to my pre-workout now in the car, go in, do my mobility work and then into my full session. Session done there, more power and strength focused. Around an hour and 20 minutes between my mobility. Did some extensive plyometrics, so not too tough on the body, just getting the legs moving as quick as possible, into a little bit of abductor and adductor work, and then into some power based exercises. And I have my chicken breast here, so it's €33 for 4.5 kilos. So it saves you spending a tenner on a kilo in Aldi or Lidl. So they'll do me for 3 or 4 weeks anyway. I'll separate them into bags of 5 and I'll put them in the freezer and I wash it down on the way home with a can of Monster. So that's that leg session done. I feel better after it. I know I said I was feeling a bit shit going into it after yesterday, but I felt like the strength in the legs and the power seems to be coming back a little bit compared to the last couple of days. I noticed on the split squats my right leg is definitely weaker than my left leg, so just to be aware of that now going forward, I'm going to prioritise any single leg work, do the right leg first, more so on the squats as opposed to RDLs. So the hip flexor quad is a little bit weaker, and on any single leg jumps I'll do the right leg first. But anyway, that's that out of the way. I'll go home now and get some food into me. So back after the gym, back with Django here. I couldn't be arsed cooking all that chicken now, so I'll separate that into bags and it's going to have a bowl of porridge at the moment. As I said this morning, I had a protein shake, banana, yogurt. Going to have a bowl of porridge now, and then I'll use the chicken later on for a dinner, or probably 2 dinners. So I'll show you what I have in my porridge. So I'll have 60 grams of oats. I'll put in a square of this 85% dark chocolate. It's around 200 mils in milk. I don't really measure it, just as long as it's not too thick. And then I'll put a scoop of protein in after I put it into the microwave. That's it. I have a banana in there as well. Not the most appealing looking thing in the world, but it'll get the job done. Just finished up some work on the laptop there, getting some people on board for coaching. Had a couple of calls. So I'm on a fat loss plan and my daily steps aren't fantastic. I have Django with me now for a couple of days, if not a couple of weeks. So let's see how excited he gets when we find out we're going for a walk. Django, do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go for a walk? Right, so I'm getting hungry now. I'm going to put these chicken breasts that I got earlier into these little bags. So I'm going to freeze 4 bags of them with 5 breasts in each bag, and I'm going to cook 5 of them now. So this isn't very exciting, but it's part of the meal prep process. So got 4 bags ready to go into the freezer. I've got 6 fillets left over. So I thought I was going to have 5, but they're in around 170 to 200 grams per breast is what it said on the packet. So I'll cook those 6 now, put these in the freezer. So I'll add the seasoning in here and I'll mix it in here. So I've got paprika. I've got garlic and herb seasoning. And I've got this southern fried, because the southern fried chicken, the southern fried seasoning, which I suppose will make a southern fried chicken when it goes on the breast, won't it? Not much left in that. I'll mix it up now with my hand. I'll put them onto the pan then. I'll just grease it with a little bit of this 1-cal spray, just so they don't stick to the pan. Now I'll put them into the oven around 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes, or whenever they're cooked through. So as I said at the start of this video, I had probably one of the worst games I had in my life yesterday. It wasn't in a sense that I was making loads of mistakes. I just could not get into the game at all. I think I touched the ball maybe 4 times in the whole game. And I play as an inside forward, so that's obviously not going to impact the game. I don't think I touched the ball in the second half at all. Now, I know why my performance was so bad, and in previous years, what I would have done was it blamed everyone else and blamed that, oh, the ball wasn't coming into me when I was making the runs and no one was passing to me, and, oh, sure, the pitch was sanded and that's why the ball was bouncing away. I could not get my head into the game at all. So I was away for 3 weeks on holidays, and not blaming the holiday as an excuse, but that obviously had an impact on me. So I came back on Saturday morning from the Philippines, which would have been having a 7 hour time difference. So it's probably still a little bit jet lagged. I trained on Monday with the team, and I found that I just didn't have any power in my legs. So a general rule of thumb is to maintain power and maintain strength, you need to train it within a 5 to 7 day window. So I've gone probably 21, if not more, days of not doing any strength work properly, definitely not doing any power work, and 100% did not do any sprinting or change of direction work. So how I thought I was going to go from zero to playing a game after been drinking and eating and everything for 3 weeks, I was just been a little bit naive. I found my hips were very tight. I wasn't able to change direction quick, and that came down to my preparation. I'm not blaming the holiday as an excuse, but I neglected what needed to be done in terms of change direction work, sprint work, speed work, and stuff like that. Now, I knew I wasn't going to be doing that on my holidays. I was going away for 3 weeks. I was going to enjoy it, but that led to me having a poor performance because I was not doing that work. This could be someone similar who doesn't go training for 3 weeks. Maybe they have a bender on the weekend that leads into them not training on a Tuesday, feeling bad about not training on the Tuesdays, they don't turn up then on the Friday, and that kind of can snowball effect, and that can lead into 3 weeks missing altogether, then coming back and been in a similar situation to that, not doing speed work, not doing strength work, not doing the power work, then feeling like you're really, really far behind. Again, in that situation, the easiest thing is to throw the toys out of the pram, say you're not going to play anymore. What's the point? You're a mile off the pace. And I put a story up on Instagram after the game, not to explain myself like you see the soccer players doing and stuff like that. But one game doesn't define a season. And I do get quite a few questions, mostly from younger players that may not have experienced poor performances or big losses. Again, if you're on an underage team and you're from a good strength club, maybe you have a couple of teams in your club and you're always the strongest, you're always in every game underage, and then when you come maybe to minor under 16, when it gets a little bit more serious, you come up against another good team and you're not used to losing, you're not used to having poor performances, or if you're always beating teams well, it's kind of hard to kind of navigate that if you've never done it before. But don't let one poor game define your season or kind of derail you altogether or demotivate you. As I said in the past, I would have pointed the finger at everyone else, blamed everything else, and still trying to feel good about myself that I haven't done anything wrong, and then kind of progress on what I was currently doing. Now, again, obviously it's a different story coming from a 3 week holiday. I'm not going to go another 3 weeks doing nothing at all. I'm getting back on my plan now, getting back into the gym, back on my strength and my power work. But from when I wasn't doing any work outside of this, and it might have been a case I had poor performance because the fella I was on was pushing me off the ball, he was faster than me, he was fitter than me, he was going up and down the pitch and I wasn't able to track him. I've been making excuses. Oh, I'm a corner forward, why do I need to be tracking him back for? Oh, the ball in was too high and he got it over my head. And blaming every other thing in the world apart from myself, which was the only thing that I can control. And from experience of being on that kind of mindset that everyone else is wrong, I'm right. It is kind of a time to take a step back. If everyone else is always wrong and always wrong in every game, every training, you're never ever wrong in your life, and everything you do is 100% perfect. Even if you kick a ball wide, if the ball wasn't inflated high enough, or there was a wind, or your boots is untied, take a step back if you're always consistently blaming everyone else, and see what's the common denominator in these scenarios. It's you, and what are you doing wrong? As once you kind of own up to your mistakes, then you can correct them very easily. So, mistake that I had made was I hadn't done that strength or power work in 3 weeks, which I felt that I didn't have the power in the legs. I kind of had a bit of brain fog. I didn't have any mental clarity. Like, I was making shite runs. I was making one run out to the side, and I harp on about it to younger players. If you make a one run out to the side and you don't get the ball, loop back around, make a second, and make a third run. I was making run to the side, and I was a little bit gassed. I found it in my lungs, found it in my legs. I wasn't able to make that other run, so I was kind of just floating about the place, kind of getting a little bit in the way. Whereas I know now what I'm going to do right in the next couple of weeks before the next game is, as I said, back on the gym, back working on my strength, back working on my power. And when we're training then now on Friday evening, I'm going to probably have a little bit of that strength back in the legs, and by the next game, I'll hopefully be back where I was before the holidays. But if you haven't been doing any work here at all, and you're not quite sure where to start with it, take a step back and have a look at your own performance. And before you say it was the worst game you've ever had in your life overall, there might be some things you still have done well. Now, myself looking back on yesterday,
There was no ball came in where it bounced off my chest and I didn't get it. I was still won the 3 or 4 balls I did win. The first one I tried to take on a man, I got dispossessed because I didn't have that power in my legs. Usually, if I used to take someone on, I'd be confident enough in myself to take them on. The last day, just it didn't happen. I got dispossessed and got turned over. So the next time the ball came into me, I won it clean. I gave it to the man off the shoulder, and I did that maybe 2 more times. And that's the only time I touched the ball during the game. So that's the positive I was taking from the game yesterday. There still was a positive, even though it probably was one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. The positive was when the ball came in, I did still win it, and I gave it to the man off the shoulder. So there's a positive I can look back on. Now, and I forgot to mention this so far, I got sent off for the first time ever in my life. Underage schools, under 10s and blitzes or anything like that. I never got a red card or a black card before yesterday, and I got 2 yellow cards for lazy tackling. So the first one was, I felt it was a bit of a coming together. The ball, as I'm 5'8", it bounced over my head from a looping high ball. I was running to try and gather. The fella got ahead of me. I was going for the ball, but we collided. Probably, well, I didn't see a video of it or anything, but the ref said it was a yellow card, and look, I wasn't arguing with it. It was a coming together. It wasn't malicious in any sense, but your man was faster than me, got to the ball on the day. The second yellow card, it was a lazy tackle because at the end of the last 5 minutes or so, I was just out on my feet. My legs were gone, my lungs were gone. I was back around inside our 45. We were defending the lead. We're up by a couple of points at this stage, and I think the centre back or sweeper was coming through. We kind of put the head down, and I wasn't able to get around him. I put the hand in and I pulled him back, and I got my second yellow card. I got my marching orders. Hopefully, the only time I ever in my life do that, get sent off. But like that, it's just one of those things that happens. It's because I wasn't primed, I wasn't prepared as best I possibly could, which led to me making lazy mistakes, making lazy tackles. The first one that bounced over my head, on another day, if I had more power in my legs, I might have got that ball before it bounced. Reflecting on those mistakes that happened, on another day, I know that I can correct them with the next couple of weeks of training, next couple of days. Like, there's no point in beating yourself up. Like, when I was younger, if I missed a shot or I missed a point or something like that, I could have been in a bad humor for days. And like, it got to a stage where I was like in my early 20s, and I was still like beating myself up. I'd go home and I'd be in a huff for an hour. And people ask you, "Oh, do you want to go out for a drink?" No, 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 not going out. Do you want to go to the cinema? No, not going anywhere. And then you kind of have to realize that when you get a little bit older, that you grow up, will you? Grow up, you missed a shot, so what about it? Um, like, it's a game, it's a hobby. At the end of the day, it's a hobby. Don't have to dictate the rest of your life. And even on that, like, I might have missed the shot here and there, but look at your overall performance for 60 minutes. What else have you done in the whole 60-minute game? You might have played really, really well outside of that what might have been 5-second scenario where you kicked the ball wide and you could have won and you lost by a point, or you were drew level, or it could have been a goal chance, whatever the case may be. Yeah, you might, obviously that's a big thing that happened in a game, but you might have contributed to 5 or 6 other points during the half, and that's why you're in that position to be so close. Maybe you kicked over a few yourself, you won a few balls, fisted them off. If you're a defender, maybe you made a few interceptions earlier on in the game, but in the last minute of a game, your marker turned you and you scored a goal and you lost. But you might have stopped so much more during the game other than that. So have a look at the 60-minute game as a whole. And I went to a sports psychologist when I was younger, and it's a thing that I still do today, is I rate myself out of 10 of everything that happened during the game. And I do this in trainings then as well. So if you want to break it down into 15-minute blocks or 10-minute blocks, whatever the case may be, or even just first and second half, don't just let one aspect of a game or one miss or one mistake, "Oh, that was the shit. It was the worst game I ever played in my life. It was a 0 out of 10. And when I'm saying to myself now, yes, it was the worst game I've ever played in my life, that's me analysing the whole lot of it. So again, I'm not putting myself immediately to 0 just because I got sent off. But have a look at yourself from the very start to the very end, and that's including the warm-up. So yesterday, my warm-up was terrible as well. I just couldn't get my head into it. I felt like I was slow. My hand passing, kick passing wasn't fantastic. We had a small-sided game, and I kind of was just standing there. I wasn't getting involved in it. So have a look from literally the second you step out of the dressing room when you're fully togged to when you come back in. Analyze absolutely everything that happened and rate everything out of 10. I know it sounds silly rating a warm-up out of 10, but where you focus, where your foot pass is good, where your hand pass is good, what was your shooting like, what was your tackling like, when you find you're a little bit out of focus, what can you do then the next day to make that better? Is it a case that you were rushing to the game because you hadn't the bag packed an hour beforehand, you didn't know where your boots were, your mom put your clothes somewhere else, you don't know what was going on, couldn't find the club socks? How can you correct that then for the next day? Is it a case you pack the bag the day before, so then you know when you're going out the door for the game, the bag is beside the door, you pick it up and off you go. So there's small little things. Analyze what went wrong, I suppose, is the main thing, and see how you can correct that for the next day. owning up to your mistakes is some people find it very difficult to do, and some people will never ever be wrong, and there's no talking to some people. But if you can analyze that something went wrong, and this is more so for people who are extremely hard on themselves, there's a difference between, you know, holding yourself to a high standard and being unrealistic with your goals then as well. So if you're saying that you had a terrible game because you only scored 2 points and you missed 3 or 4 shots, but the 3 or 4 shots you missed were these absolute humdingers from outside the 45 that realistically it's a 1 in 100 shot for you, that's not going to mean you had a poor performance. You were holding yourself, or sorry, you were trying stuff that was outside of your ability, and you were trying to do stuff you're probably not going to do, and it wasn't the best option to even do in the first place. Whereas you might have had a really good game if you took out those 3 or 4 shots and you passed it to someone else. You contributed 2 points. You might have set up 2 or 3 other points if you passed those shots that you were taking on. That might be something that it's not been unrealistic with your expectations then as well. You're staying within your wheelhouse. Now, that's not to say you can't score those shots over time. Maybe a little bit more practice is needed on that, which comes down to analysing the mistakes you made. If it is a case you're missing shots in and around the D in the scoring zone, and you know that might be a case you need to stay behind training 10 or 15 minutes, go to training 10 or 15 minutes early, or go down to the pitch with a bag of balls on a day that you're not training. Maybe the extra work is needed. So I suppose just to kind of analyse everything a little bit, fleshing that out about me saying I had the worst game ever, this is how I get over it myself. And this is me coming from previously when I was younger, been absolutely so hard on myself when there was no need to be, and been a bad humour for days, and letting a poor performance or a poor game dictate not only my life for a day or two, it could be for a week, and I could really, really kind of go back into myself and be really introverted and really affect my confidence. Whereas, look, I'm annoyed about yesterday, don't get me wrong, but after the game, I got over it. Like, right, I know what went wrong, I know what I need to do to correct it for the next day, park it there. The main thing is the team won. 100%, and that's the most important thing in any team sport. As long as the team wins, you can kind of put your own personal performance to the side. I know it's a little bit more difficult if you have a poor performance and you feel like you let the team down. Like if we lost yesterday after I got sent off, I would have felt terrible, and still would have felt terrible today. But the main thing is get back on the horse as soon as possible. Like today, I did a really good gym session because I wasn't that tired because I did so fuck all yesterday. I had a really good power and strength focused leg day today, and I kind of felt I had that power back in the legs. So get back on the horse straight away. If that is the case, you take a couple of days off. If you have a tough game, need a day or two rest, get back to your training the next day and just try and forget about it. It's like if you write it down, maybe that's the case that journaling is a good thing just to get it off your mind. Once you write it down on the page, if that's the case for you, that's case closed. Write it down on the page, rate myself a 5 or 6 out of 10. I gave myself a 3 or 4 out of 10 yesterday, and 4 been very, very generous. I was going more so on the 3 side of things. That's it. That's it done. Game done. We got our 2 points. I played shite. End of. Next day now on training, what am I going to do to make sure I play as best I can for the team? And our game is on Saturday week. That's when our following game is. So I'm going to make sure I do all I can to make sure I not make up for having a poor performance, but I don't want to let that lead on to 2 poor performances in a row because I'm thinking so much on the last one. And just the last thing I'll say on this as well, if you do have a poor game, or if you make a mistake in a game, don't feel like you have to try and make up for that mistake the next day and put so much pressure on yourself that I have to kick 10 points down the next day because I missed those 2 shots. Or if I'm a defender, I have to contribute now to 3 scores because my man scored 3 points against me the last day. And you're doing stuff you don't normally do. It mightn't be what your team wants you to do in the first place. You're being greedy with the ball because you want to show everyone how good you were. Get back into your normal game. Maybe it's a case you need to take it back a little bit. Just do the simple things. Look for a man. If you're been missing shots from distance, maybe just don't try them the next day. That's the last thing I'll say on that. Just to kind of elaborate a little bit. That's the way I deal with a poor performance or a poor game. Get back on the horse as soon as possible. Evaluate what you did wrong. What can you do to correct those mistakes? And look, it's only one game. Don't let it define your season.
I might have left the breast sitting a little bit too long. I was doing a bit of videoing, so I'll have one of those now on a wrap. With the sriracha sauce, got that from the Philippines, it's quite nice. A little bit of cheese and lettuce, and then later on I'll use up the rest of that rice with another chicken breast. That'll be my 2 last meals of the day. So let that wrap there. I'll eat the other chicken breast later on. There's probably not going to be much more exciting stuff happening. Watch a bit of telly now, maybe play a bit of PlayStation, but that is a full day in the life, if you will, of a GAA leg focused or power focused leg day. And tomorrow I'll be back on the pitch, so I might do another video if this does alright. I'll record it. Takes up a lot of space, the old YouTube crack, but if you enjoy it anyway, you might subscribe to the page, drop me a follow on Instagram and TikTok. I'll put the links in the description there as well. Ciao.